please, and think about what a beautiful place we live in and those less fortunate that are having problems. So bow your head, please. Okay. If you will rise, please, and say pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do I have a motion to, does everybody have an opportunity to look at the agenda?
Yes.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, we have 4 changes.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
First of all, we'd like to add an item 6C, Delora Ball Field at Harmon Field. We'd like to add 8A for a memo from Tim Daniels on the historic preservation. 9C, adding Public Works Committee appointment. And then 9A, Historic Preservation Commission appointment, you can scratch that. We have no appointments for that tonight.
Okay.
Those are the 4 changes. I guess, Town Clerk, do you have any,
That's all I have in my notes.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the changes?
I'll make a motion.
Second. All in favor? So let's move ahead. All right, we are going to the tropical storm lien damages and restoration update.
Do you want to do a motion on the consent calendar?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. The consent agenda for today's meeting.
Make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. All right. So now let's go, Jim, you gonna talk about the storm?
Yeah, there's been a lot going on. Of course, we still haven't got any money yet. And I guess I approached Brad Gordon, who's our Harmon Field superintendent, and I've asked him to be kind of the lead person working with Tim to meet with FEMA, because FEMA's been coming here Mondays and Fridays. And so I came in this morning, and I'm working on the budget, stressed out a little bit about money and stuff. So I made a comment to the FEMA people. Maria, Hernandez is one that, I said, we haven't seen any money yet. She said, well, I approved everything. It's off in Raleigh. So anyway, Tim, I guess you went and got a hold of Raleigh and give an update what they said about the payment.
Yeah, they basically said that the payment was approved. It said it was 25 days, since it was submitted. We were under the impression it was 20 days, but they said 20 business days anyway. So they said, yes, it was approved and we should have a check number any day now.
So when it comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing is, the town board, you were gracious enough to commit $300,000 toward primarily Harmon Field. We've now spent the full 300, and we have other things in the pipeline to move forward. And then one thing I wanted to share with on this update is the consultant we retained last month is the same county consultant that they hired to help them work on relocation, mitigation, and helping get the money from FEMA and Raleigh. So today I signed a letter to FEMA on dealing with Harmon Field, and we've shared this with the Harmon Field board, is we lost the boardwalk. We can't rebuild it. But we want the money from there to be moved toward rebuilding the playground, maybe at the dog park location, moving the dog park over to Hog Heaven, and reconstructing the screen porch that we lost as well. So he's helped us, he's been working very close with Brad and FEMA. And then this letter went off today to go to FEMA to get some of the money moved to make it happen. Our goal is the playground by the river, the kids can't get to, it's off limits now. It did receive some damage, but we got a price to relocate it. We felt if we get it to the, by the entrance where the ball field is, where the ball park currently is put it there, that way it would never get damaged in the future from any future storms. And so we'd like to get that in operation, but we need to get the dog park under construction, so we can make this all happen, we get a screened-in porch. And then, on the Harmon Field budget this year, which I'll go in more details later, is we're not getting any rental income this year. As you know, we got rental income from the cabin, which is still closed, the screened-in porch, all decommissioned right now, so, all we have is strictly the township tax to get the budget covered this year, but, so that's one of the areas, and I guess, Tim, you've been going to, the meeting up in Asheville last week, give an update of how that went, and
Yeah, so it was up in Asheville, the first half of the meeting on Friday was, kind of a state of the Union of the Recovery of North Carolina. There were a lot of numbers thrown around and that kind of thing. The second half was, we did break out groups, to air our grievances with the process. There were some grievances aired about how long it's been taking and some other issues, but it was a quality meeting. They said all those grievances are going to be put into a document and given to the governor, who was there as well, but I didn't get a picture of him.
Tim, how much is the first check gonna be? Is it for 300?
I believe it's up for 187 something. Yeah.
So we have invoiced FEMA for 300 total.
it gets loaded in, I guess Brad's been working with them as well. How much's been loaded in the system so far that they accepted?
I'm not sure exactly, but I'd say probably close to I'd say maybe 4.
We loaded some additional today. So I think I asked you earlier, it was like 300, now it's pushing 400. But they load in the system, what we're trying to do is, we're hoping the state will advance the money to the local governments, because I got an estimate from Brad for the bridge repair, and that was 250.
56,000, I think.
So that's a lot of money to keep taking out of our fund balance. My goal initially was get the money back and then reinvest it again until we get more money back. And we haven't seen that happen yet, so we're still, but I mean, I think Brad goes, did we get a bad mood today? I came in and said, where's our money?
That's in the mail, is that?
So,
Are they pouring concrete at the bridge? Are they just dumping rocks?
Well, we got 2 different estimates, so that's what, with FEMA, when they come and do a site inspection, you have to go by that report. And then what they do is they send it, and then our consultant looks at it and says, okay, the engineer's report, the site inspection, all coincide with each other. But if we wanna change it up to do something different, because the only thing FEMA will actually pay for is to get it back to before the disaster. So anything beyond that, we have to mitigate.
I mean, we don't need any upgrades to it.
But you are by changing it, because if you add concrete, it had concrete there before the storm.
You just add big rocks. Big rocks. A lot of them. And, yeah, I mean, do what the state does, just reinforce the bank at the entrance with big rocks. We got them right there in the river. There's a backhoe right down there too. I think that's just a stupid amount of money for not a real problem.
yeah, I kinda wish it was a DOT bridge, so I don't have to worry about it. But,
Looking at the way they're building the bridge over Old Tower Gap Road, I mean, that's what.
I think they built the Golden Gate Bridge fast.
I was,
Oh, yeah.
I've used that analogy, so what do we do anyway? Update on the cabin, any news on the?
We're waiting, that's one of the holes we got on the cabin is FEMA wants our architect we retain to get at least 1, preferably 2, construction estimates, what it would cost to, 1, fix the cabin up according to ADA compliance and all that type of stuff. 2, they want an estimate to to build a cabin if you build it someplace else on the property. And the problem is these contractors are busy and nobody wants to do it for free. And I've been told I'm willing to pay $1,500 to put together an estimate. But we got the appraisal back at $260,000. We just need to get the construction estimate. If it's over $130,001, the cabin gets torn down. We don't get a choice, but we haven't got that number yet. So, but we decided to move ahead with the playground and the screen porch, and using the boardwalk money to.
Where would you put the screen porch?
What's that?
Where would the screen porch go?
We're looking at maybe building it next to the playground area.
The new, oh, okay.
A lot of people use the playground to have family reunions with the screen porch, and they go hand in hand. And pretty much FEMA wants us away from the river completely. And so, the look of Harmon Field will change. I think when it's all done, it's gonna be a much better park. Cause you will see the whole river, all the items will be cleared away, and you'll have maybe, picnic shelters, grills, horseshoe pits, stuff like that, and a walking track will be adjacent to the water.
Okay, cool.
And then, Brad's got pricing on putting some kind of shade elements over the playground, since that would be more in the sunny area until the trees get bigger. And then, the next item, 6B, on the same thing, is Emily's been helping me out a lot because the town retained a grant writer, I guess when I first got here. And I gave him a tour of the middle school property where the roofs caved in. And so I said, I really need a grant for this thing. So he's been in contact with Emily. And I told Brad and Tim, they're working directly with FEMA on this local thing. We're sort of going around a different way to the back door to Washington on getting a FEMA grant to work on the restoration of the Packlet River. But the one key element I like is we're working on getting money to get the roof fixed on that school building and get money to get an architect to design it as a 10,000 square foot community center. So if we get that grant, it'll almost be a guarantee to get the next phase to actually come through with construction. So we're trying to basically take a different route to get that community building with some grant money. And so, we got notification that, I guess Emily, why don't you share what you say about our chances are for this 400,000?
I actually reached out to Will yesterday just to see if he had an update, and he said he feels our chances are very, very good to get the $400,000 to do the project scoping, that's in the agenda packet. And if we can have the project scoping and everything, all those elements completed by October, that aligns with the time frame to be able to move into the next phase and get that next chunk of money to be able to complete the construction projects.
And it's a 10% match, so it'll be $40,000 local money, but the bet internally is that Emily and our betting, we might win, getting our money before they get their family. But anyway, we'll see. The next item for 6C is, the ball diamond down by, near the cabin, took a major hit from the storm. And we've already came through and had a Spartan Environmental come through and do all the reworking of the drainage for Harmon Field to get that fixed. So we got a bid from Hips Land Management as the lowest bid to redo the grading of the ball fields, put in sod, irrigation, and so forth for $83,815. And then we got a contract from Face Land Management to do the fencing for the ball field, not to exceed $4,800. So we'd like to get your approval to proceed on this and get it loaded this week onto the FEMA portal for reimbursement as well.
Okay.
Do you have a motion? Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
And the next time we move into, I guess, item 7. Over the last few months, the board has taken some approvals, and I want to come back now and get the formalized into a budget amendment. This is our fourth budget amendment for the year. The expenditures in the general fund is $36,000, and that's for the installation of the downtown streetlights we talked about last month. We're gonna put 7 new lights, a black metal pole that's gonna stop scores. A while back, we purchased 2 used dump trucks for $79,500. Then, the steps by the clock tower have taken some major, damage this year over the previous several years. So it's $15,500 to get the steps repaired. And then we've been spending, money to an outside contractor in overtime on maintaining the cemetery. And yes, we haven't got any FEMA money. When we do get the FEMA money, a lot of the overtime, we're gonna go back and credit both those expense accounts, get them back within budget. But in the meantime, the state who monitored our budgets have asked us to, I know you haven't got FEMA money yet, Jen, well, you need to amend your budget for the cemetery, so we're gonna do that. And so, that's kind of the general fund. I'm using appropriation fund balance, and then we have a donation from Stock Ford to pay for, 3 of the 7 lights. Tourism fund, they want to amend the budget for event marketing for $1,200 for, live entertainment down at the plaza, and $14,500, I guess, is a kiosk bill.
The digital kiosk.
And I'll go down there, same location? Okay. And then the third area is in the fire department. When I did the budget, back in, May of last year, we thought about using $42,000 for a down payment on the truck, and that's why I budgeted. But in reality, the first payment for the, new fire engine is not gonna occur to October 1st of 2025. So we're gonna use $42,000 for the accrued interest. And I put this number together, actually about 3 years ago, 42,000. The actual number is 41,600 and something. And then, so that's gonna be an offset. And so the FEMA grant, the, fire department was fortunate enough to get a grant to purchase, cascade system and new air packs, but it went over 2 fiscal years. So it wasn't quite finished last year, so we got $61,915 this year, as well as finishing paying off the equipment. So we're just amending, the budget to allow for the FEMA grant to come in and pay for the equipment. So those are the 3 areas that are being affected by the budget amendment. Any questions on that? Or?
Do we need a motion to approve?
I make the motion.
Yeah. Second. All in favor? Aye.
Next item, actually came out of comment for one of our citizens, and was, the town has had several fire hydrants, total of 13 of them, that haven't worked in years. And, but the whole thing is, I've been asking, you know, the department heads, if you came to the previous managers and they did, you gotta know, don't be afraid to come to me. So I met with, Andrew McAllister, who's our water sewer supervisor, and, Josh Parnell, our interim fire chief, to prepare a list, and they came up with 13. And I guess a lot of times too is, they say they're gonna get around to it, not them, but talking about maybe managers in the past. Don't be afraid to take these to the council. So we like to get these 13 hydrants fixed. Some are 1910. And one of the things they did in the old days, they put the hydrants in, but there's no valves near the hydrant where they can turn off. So what's gonna happen when we fix these, we're gonna have to notify the immediate neighborhoods that the water will be down as we replace the hydrant, put a new hydrant in, plus put a valve in. But I think that we've waited long enough, we need to address this and move forward. And so they gave me a price around $49,500 to purchase these items. The town crews will handle the, install. It'll take a while to get it done, but at least, the whole thing is we need to know what's wrong, to address it, that type of thing. So I'm glad that it's before us now. It should have come before the previous town boards years and years ago.
So
Well, I brought it up a couple of times.
that means people's homes were in jeopardy and.
No, I don't think necessarily.
Well, it's a false sense of security.
Yeah.
One of those hydrants is right next to my
Yeah.
house.
But also too, the fire department knows which ones aren't working, but the fact of the matter is, if they're decommissioned for a while, that's one thing. But why they waited this long, and not bringing it to the, I don't put the blame on the town boards in the past, 'cause if they knew about it, they would probably fix it. I don't think it ever came before your board. But the whole thing is, a lot of times they figure, well, what's the chance, the manager always says no. But it's like, to me, it's like a safety thing to me. If I get a safety hazard brought to my attention, I'm gonna address it immediately.
Sure.
So,
And that can impact insurance rates and everything else.
but I think, we know about it, I brought it to your attention, and now I'm asking for the money to direct staff to go ahead and get it fixed. Take care of it.
What was the budget for that?
$49,534 for the parts, and the labor will be done through our town crews. And we'll try to get them, somebody done, they had to work around their current workload, of course, but we'll get the top ones first. I told them I wanted a couple of the fire hydrants for the dog park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
Work.
they tore the one out in front of the old missile done. That was the first fire here in town.
Yeah.
And they were off to the scrap, and I said, So it's up in my shop, stuck in the ground, but I'm gonna give it to the museum when they finally get a permanent home one day.
So we need a motion for that.
Yes.
I'll make the motion for it. Sooner rather than later.
Yeah. I have a vested interest in that.
It's
The
not-
whole town has a vested
Oh,
interest.
absolutely, absolutely. So, all in favor? Aye.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
I think, Andrew McAllister and Josh Connell and, the several citizens
Yeah.
of town have told me, Joyce Kempton's one, and so, and people who know they have a hydrant near their house that doesn't work, they probably know all along too, so I'm glad to read that you're very supportive of, once we brought this matter to your attention.
So what other deferred maintenance type items are gonna come up that we need to be aware of? And that's probably for another meeting, because I see the town attorney saying, don't bring this up. But
Well, the whole thing is, I think, since I've been here, the previous town board, the current town board, once I find out something, you've been very supportive of, assisting management to get things rectified, so that, anything else that pops up. One thing too is, we had sewer system overflows, and we've got the Braywick projects now finished. That was $3.2 million, and it cost us $600,000 loan, $2.6 million in grant. And the loan was for 20 years at 0.14% interest rate. And so the project came a little bit under budget, so they've adjusted the loan down. Then we've got the projects now been awarded. We have the money from State Senator Tim Moffitt and, House Member Jake Johnson, Hidden Hill, Oak Street, and Brady Markham. Those are gonna be in construction shortly. So,
Do we have any estimate on updating the whole system? I mean,
I've got the number that, with the draft, and I'll share it with this board in March 2020, they said it'd be like 25 million. I think those numbers probably,
30 now.
38.
Yeah.
Anyway, but a lot of small towns have huge capital needs. I think the key thing is, my background has always been finance infrastructure, so to me it's, I kind of enjoy it personally, getting stuff done. But a lot of managers don't really wanna mess with the stuff.
well, out of sight, out of mind. If you can't see it and it's working, don't worry about it. but things do wear out, so.
Well, I think the key thing is, I found in my career, if you write something down, you can address it. So I think these hydrants, maybe it's been verbally brought to people's attention, but it was the priority of maybe previous managers to find the money. But I think my philosophy is, we can't solve problems, we put the problems on the table. And so, rather than keeping this hidden any longer type thing, once I found out about it, I was pleased with Andrew and Josh putting the numbers together as quickly as they did, because I said, I'd like to take it to council next Tuesday, so they got it together to me by last Thursday, so. But, yeah, if I find anything else, we'll let you know, but hopefully.
All right, very good.
Outside of a few big culverts, we're good, I think.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that to us. All right, board appointments. Historic preservation.
That's
We took that
been
off.
red line.
That's
So now you
Oh,
got Parks
okay.
Committee. Who do you have for Parks Committee?
I handed out my packet, so I don't have it. I was trying to say trees, because the packet was really, fast.
That was very
There
late,
it is.
very last page.
Yes, I could have started at the end.
Yeah, you should have.
Wayne Albert, his application just came in through the front office, and they gave it to me to put it from the board for Parks appointment.
Do we know?
I think I know.
Is Wayne?
He's not here, but he's for the Parks Committee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll make the motion.
Second.
I'll
This
second.
this is for approval. Okay.
For Wayne.
So anybody that will volunteer,
I know.
So,
Exactly.
all in favor?
Aye.
So,
You got a Public Works Committee appointment?
we've got 4 citizens that we haven't voted on. Bill, you know all 4 of them, because they're all men with that job.
Ah,
So we have Dave Lansing, Jay Gorey, Tim McNeil, and Stan Gibson. And they are all, Dave, if you know, I can speak for Dave personally, he's very capable in understanding how things work, so. And Tim is also very mechanically minded, and Stan is a longtime resident, and so I can vouch for their willingness to serve.
And they've already attended 2 meetings.
Yeah, exactly,
And they're very interactive in the meetings.
yeah,
Mhm.
good. So do we have a motion to approve the 4 Public Works Committee?
I'll make a motion.
Second,
okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
We have one item, I guess, maybe your historic commission item.
Yes, okay, so, that packet of photos in front of you, basically what the Historic Preservation Committee is trying to do is, applying for local historic designation to a section of downtown buildings to mirror the federal historic designations. The area I'm talking about is on the second page, you'll see a map of it, those are the sections. A little background, the Tryon Historic Preservation Commission unanimously voted at its April 2nd meeting to recommend that the downtown Tryon Historic District, which was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2015, be designated as Tryon Local Historic District. Local designation would provide some safeguards to preserve the special character of the downtown historic district, That listing on the National Register of Historic Places does not provide. On April 7th, the commission sent a letter and supporting documentation proposing a local designation to the state. The state has a 30-day period to provide comment or not. Concurrent with the 30-day state review period, the Historic Preservation Commission plans to hold public information and outreach sessions about proposed designation of the Downtown National Register District as a local historic district. Additionally, Tryon's ordinance provides for a historic overlay zoning. Local designation of a historic district would amount to such zoning. And to comply with the zoning procedures, the Historic Preservation Commission asks the Board of Commissioners to forward the recommendation for local designation to the Board of Planning and Adjustment for review. So what we're asking you to do is to approve or deny referring the Historic Preservation Committee recommendation to the Planning Board for review and procedure initiation for the overlay zoning.
Will it come back to us after?
It's like a tax and map amendment, so it will go through them, they will make a recommendation to approve or not, and then it comes to you guys. So at the next meeting, yeah.
Discussion, any questions?
That was my only question.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
All right, second. All in favor? Aye. So what is the process on this, Tim? How long is it?
So as like a map amendment, I have to write a letter to each property owner, each adjacent property owner. It's gotta go in the newspaper twice in concurrent weeks. I gotta put it on the website, I gotta post it on the front. The second newspaper notice cannot be, it's a lot to remember, less than 10 days from the actual event. But we'll have more than, but the notice is for when you guys get to it, when it comes to you at the next meeting, not the planning board, but we'll have all those notifications out and post stuff on the website and whatnot.
That's pretty restrictive as far as what you can do, is it not, the designation?
You do get tax breaks, it is somewhat restrictive. If you would like to talk to Ellen about if you have any
There aren't too
questions.
many tax breaks for a district. There are currently federal tax breaks for rental properties. But the main thing is, it gives you some safeguards on exterior changes. Major exterior changes come before the commission, minor ones are staff review, and it makes it a little harder to demolish something.
Okay.
It keeps with the preservation aspect of making things.
Great, look forward to hearing.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Tim?
What's next?
Let's move on to the minimum housing then.
You did the vote, or did they?
They voted to
Okay.
send it to them, yeah, to initiate the procedure. I don't have it, is it minimum housing then TDDA update?
Yeah.
Okay, minimum housing, Stephen and I were trying to coordinate with, the county on 160 Cleveland, that didn't work out, so the town's just gonna we moved forward with it, the timer started on that about 3 weeks ago. 112 Jackson Street Annex, I sent an initial inspection letter to, try to get in there. If I don't hear from them, we do administrative warrants to go in and inspect the property. And I was made aware of another, house near Lyle, or on Lyle Avenue. T1 B7 is the property. I have to drive out there and get pictures and take a look at it, and I'll have to initiate an inspection on that one as well. And that's all I got for minimum housing.
And a couple items I want to talk about in the manager report. First of all, I'd like to announce, I shared with you Josh Connell appointed Josh to be interim fire chief. Josh Walton moved on, and then I mentioned to Josh when I called him, I wanted to meet with all the firemen, full-time ones we have. So last week I met with the 4 full-time firemen to get a feel where we're headed. I think I have full confidence in the department we have. the one thing the firefighters brought up is, we've got like a firefighter position, and it jumps up to like deputy chief and chief. Could there be some additional positions, you know, additional experience be added? And so Josh has given me a list of positions I can add to the budget this next year, with opportunities for advancement. We are looking for at least 2 more full-time firemen. We've got it budgeted for 7 full-time positions. But a lot of times, a lot of these firemen, they may work for one department when they get full-time salary and benefits, and they work for other departments for $15 an hour for a 24-hour shift. And it's worked fine, but I think having continuity is very important, to have the same team there all the time type thing. So we're gonna try to get it where we have, 6 or 7 full-time, but in the meantime, we do have a lot of part-time folks in other departments that come and help us on shifts A, B, and C, the 24-hour shifts with 2 firemen for each shift. And then the chief works day shift, so he has an opportunity to meet all 3 crews, A, B, and C. So I'm looking forward to some great improvements in the fire department, and we got a good crew.
Good.
Next thing is, I wanted to bring, Josh, you wanna say anything?
No, I pretty much covered it all. Mr. Patlin's been working with me a lot on stepping into this position. He's been very helpful. We got a lot of things handed out and moving in a good direction.
The other thing is Farm and Field Board, they met this last week, and they approved a budget, which is good. The only problem is not balanced. They know it's not balanced. But the Warren Watson came by this evening and signed a letter which is directed to the county commissioners and the Town Board. So I just want to read it, where they're coming from. Basically, they want to talk about Hurricane Helene. They met in my office 3 days after that storm hit. We talk about where we're headed, what was destroyed, whatever, and it's been a longer process than we all anticipated. But basically, they want to share with you that, the park was severely damaged from Hurricane Helene back in September. Much of the field was inundated with water, mud, and debris. Their boardwalk, screen porch, and cabin deck were completely destroyed. Flood waters impacted the cabin, concession stand, the ballpark restrooms, field house restrooms, open air gym, ball field A, Delera Field, which you took action tonight on, the equestrian barns, soccer fields, the Packlet River Bridge, the hog cabin, and the trail system were all severely damaged. And I do want to thank, Bill came out and you were there too. We toured Harmon Field along with the Harmon Field Board and walked the park a couple weeks ago. They wanted to thank the Town Board of Commissioners for taking the lead on forming a separate project fund. We put up $300,000. It's been taking the stress off them that their budget was not impacted, strictly the town taking the lead on it. We estimate it's going to exceed by $1 million when it's all over. And then we retained at the last meeting, Rosman Solutions, Polk County's FEMA consultant, has been helping us out. Also too, they want to thank the Polk County Commissioners. They took the lead on contacting the Army Corps of Engineers, who has been a tremendous resource. And Brad, I guess they've done so much wonderful work out there for you.
Oh yeah, they're cleaning it up.
I can't believe all the work. It's amazing what they've done. But one of the things, Harmon Field Board goes, where we go from here. Until last year, the Harmon Field Board went 15 straight years without a tax increase. And when I toured the park back in January of 23 and I came back, I was not too happy how the park had deteriorated and what it was when I left, years ago. Last year there was a 1 cent tax increase, and the Harmon Field Board had initially requested a 2 cent tax increase to basically have the township cover the basic maintenance of the entire park. Major maintenance would be covered by rental income, and they'd be aggressive on grants flags and so forth. Although in the discussion this year, I think where I was coming from, that based on the discussion I had with the county manager, he wanted to do 1 cent last year and 1 cent this year. But the Harmon Field Board has taken a different approach. They voted not to even consider a tax increase this year. They approved the budget at $332,840, but in lieu of a 1 cent increase, the Harmon Field Board is asking the county commissioners to fund approximately $50,000 for the annual operation maintenance for Harmon Field. The Harmon Field Board strongly feels that the Polk County taxpayers residing outside the township should also financially support the long-term success of Harmon Field. So that's what we're gonna be taking to the county. Whether they're gonna support that, we don't know. If they do not, Warren Watson will have to call a special meeting to reconsider the tax increase. But there again, the county sets the tax rate. And just for clarification, it's sort of like an important triangle. The town of Tryon owns Harmon Field. So they appreciate the town taking the lead with FEMA, because it's a town asset. The finances of the Harmon Field are in the financial statements of the town of Tryon. The Harmon Field Board consists of 5 commissioners, 2 appointed by the town, 3 by the county, goes back and forth every 2 years, 2 and 3. The county sets the tax rate, not the town. So you need all 3 to work harmonious together, and hopefully the county will be receptive to Harmon Field Board's request that, I mean, the park's enjoyed by everybody in the county. It's a facility, so this is their way to see if there's any movement from the county commissioners to put up ongoing money from the county taxpayers from countywide. So I'll keep you informed, but, the revaluation appeals on the agenda today. I won't get the assessed valuation numbers till like the first week of May from the county. And since they wanted the budget turned to them now, they're gonna do the revenue neutral calculation on behalf of the Harmon Field as well as the Tryon Fire Department budget as well. But do you have any questions of?
What is the projected loss of income for this year?
Actually, the way the budget looks, we lost, let's see, I normally budget, I guess 2 years ago, Harmon Field rental revenue was $13,000. Harmon Field usage revenue was $30,000. Then you got $32,000 from horse shows, a total of $75,000. And that's all zero for this next 12 months. And so, one of the things too, when I came back last year, I was frustrated how Harmon Field got to where they were. And what had happened over the years, since the taxes would never increase, the rental income plus the township tax, which was 3.86 for years. So rental income and township tax paid for the salaries and the operational costs. So if the Harmon Field budget does not get approved with the tax increase or help from the county, we'll have to lay off at least 1 employee in Harmon Field this next year. I'm not sure how we can do it. We've had 3 employees at Harmon Field for over the last 15 years. So, but hopefully the county commission will at least see the budget is pretty clear. It's that without rental income, the 3 employees and taking care of the park, you know, it's a full-time effort. But, Brad was telling me that the high maintenance usually is ball fields, soccer fields, and I guess probably the equestrian area, those 3. The other things that less maintenance is like, you know, the screen porch type thing. The cabin wasn't that much of a deal type thing, and the open air gym. But, we met with the YMCA this past week and they have nothing but praise. The soccer fields at Harmon Field are much better than what the county has. They'd like to see those restored. We know we're running behind, but they're gonna be a much better soccer field if we put in sod like FEMA's gonna pay us for. So, hopefully we'll get through, but, I'll share the outcome with you when we meet next month. But I'll be presenting the next year's budget at your meeting on May 20th. And then we'll schedule a couple, work sessions for you to go through the budget. You'll get a chance to meet with, the entire management team, all the supervisors, like we did last year, Bill. I think that helps out a lot. You can ask questions, even non-monetary questions, how things are done. So I think it'd be a good opportunity to meet the street supervisors, sanitation, and so forth. So that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Jim?
Tim has something.
Yeah, skip the TDDA report. Can I do that real quick? Okay, real quick. Town branded furniture has been ordered to replace non-compliant furniture on Trade Street. Replacing the furniture was a partnership between the TDDA and downtown, and the town. This Saturday, April 19th from 11 to 1, we will be hosting an Easter egg hunt, downtown. There will be eggs inside participating shops and outside as well. A special guest that hopes it will not be too hot will be out on the plaza to take pictures with the little ones. TDDA is spearheading a community cleanup day for downtown Tryon on April 22nd, Earth Day, from 10 to noon. Sign up to volunteer on the TDDA website under events. For fourth Friday this month, Cool Dewey Kudzu will be playing on the plaza, performing from 5 to 7. A couple ribbon cuttings coming up on April 25th at 5:30. TDA will be hosting a ribbon cutting for Monica Stevenson Photography at 112 North Trade Street. On May 2nd at 11:30, we will be hosting a ribbon cutting grand opening for Missy and Company and Fortunate Finds at 75 South Trade Street. We hope everybody comes out to support these two businesses. On May 2nd, TDDA is hosting its first after-hours business mixer this year at 5:30 p.m. at the Livery Poorhouse at 60 Packlet Street. We hope business owners come out to network with fellow business owners and get a sneak peek at the amazing new business in downtown Tryon. The tree uplighting project has begun on Trade Street today, actually. LED lights will be installed that have color changing capabilities, and the aim is to have downtown be a bit more visitor friendly in the evening. And finally, the town was awarded a bike rack grant from the Blue Ridge Bicycle Club to install bike racks throughout the downtown.
I left some flyers on the chair in the back to sign up for the cleanup. And I think lunch is gonna be provided, so you need to sign up and then choose where you would like to work to. Various stuff, flyers. It's gonna be a busy weekend.
Yeah, it is.
Any questions for Tim? Thank you, Tim. All right, let's see, council and mayor's report. Tracy?
Nothing beyond, what we discussed during the working session, but thank you, Josh, for stepping up to, the plate.
Yes,
It's
ma'am,
much
thank you.
appreciated. And hopefully we get those fire hydrants, replaced.
Just need a little bit. Bill?
Well, one thing, yeah, we had Conservative Carolina had a meeting today in Saluda. The money is there to buy the railbed. It's North Carolina and South Carolina. So South Carolina's just got $5 million for construction. We're begging the state and the feds for money, but by the end of July, they'll hopefully be able to close on the railbed. And things will be moving forward.
Is there a projected timeline?
They're figuring the next year they'll harvest the rails and, ties and start cleaning things up, and, when they harvest, they're gonna have to fix these washouts, so. But there's tons of dirt and gravel right there on the mountainside, so. I think they can fix all these washouts.
Yeah, correct.
I don't really have a whole lot, but congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully we won't have too much activity, hopefully all the fires are behind us. And just thank everyone for coming out tonight.
I'd like to thank everybody that came out to the east side cleanup. We had a pretty good crowd out there. Jim, thank you for walking with me and picking up trash. That was,
And of course, you had Greg Miner's part.
absolutely. He had a crowd out of
Bigger.
the field out there and cleaning up the river, so thank you, Greg. Appreciate that much. And, just appreciate everybody coming out tonight. And now we'll have, I guess, questions from the audience. Any comments? If you would state your name and
And I wanna thank Andrew and Josh and Jim for taking care of the fire hydrant situation. The one that's close to my house has been out of commission for at least 5 years, if not longer. And when we first approached the council about that, before Jim came back, we were told it couldn't be taken care of because there was a shortage of fire hydrants, which we later found out was not true, but I so appreciate it because there are 3 within a 1 mile radius of my house that are not working.
any other comments? John?
I apologize for being late in the game on this. I've had some illness, so I haven't followed what y'all have been doing, but I wanna personally, say that I'm opposed to the town trademarking the Tron horse. And, I think, to me, it promotes the town, but if you eliminate, public use, or you don't eliminate it, but you make it, where there's a fee and whatnot, Bill knows how I feel because we had a discussion the other day. To me, it's someone else's intellectual property, and now we're making it our own. That's my primary issue with it. The other thing is, in the mid to late 1980s, we had a shop here in town called the Iron Horse Mill. In fact, the town rented Dean Tragus's spot. That was what the shop was. It's a gift shop that specialized in local things. Well, they said back in the 80s that they had either copyrighted it or trademarked it. And I rode around the town because there was a period of time when we could use the Trine horse on park signs. And it was only, the original Harmon Field sign, I think, had just the head of Morris. And if you look on Vaughn Creek Greenway, that one just has the head of Morris. And when I asked the public works director at the time, why didn't you use the old, full horse? He said that someone had challenged them, they could not use it. But I know some towns gone back to use it, which I prefer like it.
Okay, next.
Denny Crow, I was just wondering if anybody has addressed or thought about plans for some public bathrooms.
Yeah, that is a, Jim, you,
I guess it's on the design committee. What's the status of it?
We have sent out, or solicited so many bids with, a rudimentary plan, and we have gotten no quotes back. I can get the 4 people, I got them listed. We can't find a quote, but we are continually pursuing them, and then we're also trying to get with the local architect, to shore up the plans, cause they're very basic, we're hoping that if we specify specifically on what's on these plans, that will hopefully bring more quotes in. Cause maybe people are looking at these going, they're too simple. I'm not sure what the disconnect is, but we have solicited multiple people to try to, I gave them a plan and I was like, can you quote me on this? And crickets, so.
is this a freestanding
Yes, and we are looking potentially at behind McCown or near the depot. There is an idea to possibly buy a rail car, an old rail car, and renovate it and put it up there. But we are
Yeah.
we are actively trying,
The Doodle Trail in Easley, the Pickens, they took an old boxcar, put bathrooms on each end. They ramped it so it's handicap accessible. And they landscaped around, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And they're, you know, they're big enough for handicap and everything. And you can buy, we could get the rail car to Inman for less than $5,000, and we gotta get it up here. But they're cheap, they're literally a dime a dozen now.
So basically you wanna create a poo-poo choo-choo.
A poo-poo choo-choo. Here, we just named it.
No, we didn't.
Mary King, that's one of my beef, is that a town like Tryon that tries to have a lot of visitors has no public bathroom. We do have some in Rogers Park. Put at least a sign saying public bathroom so people know that there is something. It's not very convenient for those who are downtown, but it would be at least a show that we have a few something. But I do agree, I mean, this is terrible that we do not have public bathroom downtown. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Well, the main reason now is none of the merchants let people use their restrooms. Where for the last 100 years, every business had, you know, public bathrooms.
Yep.
So,
Is the issue also that we have to find not only the place, but that there has to be a sewer hookup, I would imagine. So have we located where the sewer hookups are to accommodate whatever we want to do?
Well, it sounds like we don't know what we wanna do yet, that there needs, right, Tim?
Yeah,
There
well,
needs to be additional design, so.
Yeah, we'll get additional design, but the sewer hookups, after, we have talked to Andrew about it, and it's gonna be on the side of, Packlet, closer to the depot. I think those are where the lines are. I mean, we'd love to put them down, McCown, but there's nothing down that road.
Right.
And, you know, we are trying to get as much information as we can so we can make a good decision on that, but, like I said, the place near the depot and the tracks, the grassy area, not the garden, that would be
Well, we need something on
Yeah.
Trade Street. We need restrooms on
and
Trade.
that would be up to the state or conserving Carolina. It sounds like North Carolina State Park will actually own the rails and trails in North Carolina.
Well, we're gonna need two. We need one on Trade Street and one for the rails folks.
Well, we don't own any real estate on Trade Street.
Well, but we could lease them property.
Too expensive. Everybody's tried to milk us that we've gone to over the last 5 years.
That
I
little
think we
shop
need to
next to Carol's
probably-
Flower Shop, that, used to be Huckleberry's, I don't know what was in there. But it's right under the corner.
the, sort of the groomer used to be.
Yeah, where the dog groomer was, if
Oh,
you,
okay.
on the
Yeah.
corner, right below.
That's right.
Old
that
Owens.
little-
Oh, that's not handicap accessible. Unless you wanna go real fast.
Down the hill.
Down there.
Yeah, we have talked about putting a railing down the area, but it's, I mean, they've been bouncing around different ideas for a while now with the public restrooms. And I think just, once Tim gets the quotes for the freestanding unit, and I had shown Lourdes the bathrooms that you had suggested, with the railroad cars, you know, there's a lot of different options. I think it's just concentrating on what we wanna do, make a decision on where it's gonna be, and then resolve that problem.
Do we not own a little pie shape of land up behind the dentist's office?
We have that parking lot, but we don't wanna build anything on that park, that is the view. If you start putting buildings on that hillside, then you're gonna lose the view of all the real estate back there in the Depot Street. We just built a deck there on the corner, but that wasn't big enough, and you can't put a permanent structure of that real estate due to the cables and gas lines.
Any other comments? Well, thank everybody for coming out tonight, and, we have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to go to closed session.
Oh, in closed session.
In 7 minutes. I'll make the motion to